Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMZ Diwan-e-ghalib-meri-zubaani. To all our returning viewers, welcome back. We are delighted you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are happy you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Today's episode is part of the DGMZ Miniseries, which we are currently running at the channel, dedicated to the immortal love story of Layla and Majnun. As part of this mini-series, we are narrating the story through a book. Today, we are going to pick up the narration from chapter 31. But before I get into the narration, DGMZ would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate Suluk Press Publishing House for allowing us to narrate this story from their publication titled The Story of Layla and Majnun Nizami, translated from the Persian and edited by Rudolph Gelpke, English version in collaboration with E. Matin and G. Hill. Final chapter translated from the Persian by Pirzia Inayat Khan and Omid Safi. Now, the description section of this episode will have a link to this book for viewers who want to own a copy. We will also post links to the DGMZ Ghazal episodes, where Ghalib mentions Layla and Majnun, which in fact was the inspiration to design this mini-series. So, let's get into the narration for today. Okay. Just getting settled here. Give me a second. Start of narration. The story of Layla and Majnun. Chapter 31. Majnun, listening to his father, lowered his eyes and remained silent. For some days, he obeyed his father's wishes. He rested, ate, and drank, dressed like other people, gave up composing poetry, and listened quietly when his father talked of their homeward journey together. Did he succeed in deceiving him? He wanted to, with all his heart, not only now, but for all the days and nights still granted to the old man on earth. But that was beyond his strength. Unable to lie, even from pity, regret, or shame, he at last said to his father, "You are my soul's life-giving breath. I am the obedient slave of your counsels, which enlighten my being, unraveling all knots. I have done everything to obey you and know that I should follow your advice. Yet I cannot, my father. It is my fault. You strike your coins with the die of wisdom. Mine is the die of love. It cannot be changed. Can you not see that I have forgotten my past? My memory is blank. The gale has blown away all I possessed. I am no longer the man I was, my father. If you ask me what happened, I cannot tell you. I don't remember. I know that you are my father and that I am your child, but I have even forgotten your name. I don't remember." In this hour, Majnu understood his fate and exclaimed, "I have not only lost you, I no longer know myself. Who am I? I keep turning upon myself, asking, 'What is your name? Are you in love? With whom? Or are you loved? By whom? A flame burns in my heart, a flame beyond measure, which has turned my being to ashes. Do I still know where I live? Do I still taste what I eat? I am lost in my own wilderness. I have become a savage, with wild beasts as my companions. Do not try to bring me back to the world of humans. Believe me, I am a stranger to them. One must not keep a melon in the garden once it has been poisoned by a fly, lest it infect the others. I am drawn towards death. Death is within me. If only you could forget that you ever had a son. If only you could erase me from the book of those born into the world. If only you could bury me here and think, some fool, some drunken madman, what was to be expected of him? Oh, my father, you say that soon you will have to begin your last journey. You say this was the reason why you came to fetch me. But it is late, too late for both of us. It is autumn here and inside me, and I must depart, perhaps even before you. Let the dead not mourn the dead, my father. The story of Layla-e-Majnun, chapter 32. Listening to these words, the father understood that Majnun was his no longer. He was a prisoner in the land of love, and no one could bring him back. "O you, my dearest," replied the Sayyid, taking Majnun in his arms. "You consume yourself in your grief, feeding on your own liver. You are my yoke, but also my crown. Let me then take leave of us both, of you and of myself. Look, our tears mingle and flow together. They will cleanse me, and in the cradle, which is being prepared for my journey, I shall have wonderful dreams. Hold me fast. This hour will have to nourish me on my way. It must last for a long time. I too have tied my bundle in this world. Don't you feel that I am not so far from your own? I fade away, and your sufferings become mine. Never again will I set eyes on you. Farewell. The boat which is waiting for me will not return. Farewell. Where I am going, men wait for the resurrection. Farewell. I feel as if I had already been taken out of myself. Are we not both late? Is not our caravan on its way? Farewell. Farewell. Never in this world shall we meet again. The old man had spoken the truth. He reached home, but soon afterwards his strength failed, and his soul unfolded its wings. For 2 days it hovered, then breaking its fetters, the heavenly bird took flight and found its resting place at the throne of truth, while the earth received what belonged to her. He who remains a stranger in this world and wanders, restless as the moon at night, will find peace. Man is as lightning, born to die, not to seek permanence in the house of suffering. Do not settle down to rest here, where everything perishes. You will only regret it later. But if you die your own death in this life, tearing yourself away from the world which is a demon with the face of an angel, you will share eternal life. You are your fate, your death, your life. Good will be joined to good, evil to evil. The echo shouts your secret from the mountain tops, revealing only what you confided yourself. The story of Layla and Majnun, Chapter 33. It happened during these days that a hunter of the tribe of Amir was stalking deer in the desert of Najd. One evening they met. Majnu was not the hunter's prey, but his tongue was as sharp as his sword. "Have I to find you here?" he shouted, "far away from your people? Do you not know anyone now except Layla? Have you forgotten father and mother? You should be ashamed, shameless one. A son like you would be better beneath the ground than above it. True, you probably left your father alive, young fool, but now he's dead. May you live long yourself. Will you not think of him even now? Go away, go. Your place is at his grave. Do not refuse this last sign of affection to the dead. Ask his soul to forgive you for all your sins while he was alive." His words hit Majnu like a blow. A deep moan was his only answer. His body writhed and bent, and he looked like a harp plucked by torturing fingers. Then he fell, and his forehead struck the ground time and again. When he recovered, he hurried day and night to his father's tomb. Again, grief threw him unconscious to the ground. His father, unable to rescue him, had at least shared his suffering. Their tears had mingled. Now his must fall alone. Scourged by pain, Majnu clawed the dust with his fingers and, weeping, beseeched his dead father for some response, however slight. "Father, oh father," he implored, "where are you? Where do I find you? Who have looked after me and suffered so much for my sake? Now you are no longer here. To whom can I talk? How happy you would have been if only I had been a better son to you. I have pushed you into the grave, where now you lie buried. Oh, Father, how bitter it is to have lost you. I never knew, and now that I have learned, it is too late. How grievous to be separated from you. You were my companion, my protector, the pillar of my strength. You were my master. You understood my sufferings and bore them with me. What am I now, alone and without you? Why did I remain when you left? Do not reproach me for my failure. I am nothing before you but shame. Full of sorrow and regret, Majnu exclaimed, I know that you wanted only my good. I rejected your helping hand. You were gentle. I was hard. You offered me warmth. I answered coldly. You suffered 1,000 times, yet I did not come. You prepared a bed for me, and I refused. You offered me a banquet, and I felled the tree you had planted, without tasting its fruit. All this I know, my father. Nothing is left to me but unending pain and countless regrets. You created a home for me in a corner of your heart. Now that the arrow of fate has robbed me of it, I am trying to reach it. How did this happen? I was at home with you. Suddenly you have gone, and I am still here. How great is my sin! But I understand. Mine is the guilt. Mine be the grief. So Majnu lamented, tearing his heart asunder in wild desperation, until the black flag of the night was lowered about him and his despair. Only when a new day climbed the mountain tops and the breath of the sun turned dust into gold did Majnu leave his father's tomb, returning like a fleeting shadow to the caves and ravines of Najd. The story of Layla and Majnun. Chapter 34. After his father's death, the wilderness became Majnun's only refuge. Restlessly, he roamed through its gorges and climbed steep rocks which no human being had explored before. He appeared now here, now there, as if searching for hidden treasure, seemingly one with the rocks, like the wild basil clinging to them. But this shy human flower carried a deathly grief in its calyx. Its name was Layla. She was the treasure which he hunted, and his life was nothing but longing for her. Day and night this flame burned inside him. He had been driven from his home by his desperate desire to find a home with her. If in the distance he spied tents and campfires, he was attracted like a night moth, as if they were secret signs sent out by his beloved. One day, he came across a group of people, all of whom knew him, or at least had heard of him, Who among the Arabs had not? They stayed when suddenly he noticed at his feet a scrap of paper tossing in the wind. It bore the names Layla and Majnun, written by an unknown hand in tribute to their loyalty. Nothing else, just the two names joined together. Majnu snatched up the paper, peered at it, then tore it in two. Screwing up the part bearing the word Layla, he threw it carelessly away, keeping the other half with his own name. The people looking on were greatly astonished. They would have expected anything but this. Surrounding the poet, they questioned him excitedly. What does this mean? Tell us, why have you done this? Here you were united, and now you have separated yourself from her. Why? Because, said Majnu, one name is better than two. One is enough for both. If you knew what it means to be a lover, you would realize that one only has to scratch him and out falls his beloved. But they were still not satisfied. Very well, they said. One name is enough for both. That is what you say. Maybe. But why then do you throw away Layla and keep yourself? Why not the other way around? Because one can see the shell but not the kernel, said Majnu. Do you not understand? The name is only the outer shell, and I am the shell. I am the veil. The face underneath is hers. End of narration. So that was chapter 31, 32, 33 and 34. So let's get into some brief impressions for these chapters. They are now the incidents are escalating very fast, and we are approaching towards the final part of the story. So in chapter 31, the dialogue continues between Majnu and his father. The father has finally found him in this very desolated, wild, Nizami says almost close to hell kind of a place. And the father is desperately trying to convince Majnu to come back with him. And first, the father kind of details his reasoning, both emotional and intellectual, to Majnu as to why he thinks Majnu should come back with him. And now, in chapter 31, Majnu replies to his father. And very interestingly, chapter 31 is titled Majnu's Answer. That's the title of the chapter. And it is always very insightful to hear a lover define something, since it not only will contradict, usually, the existing worldly definition of that thing, but most of the times it will hold this rare pearl of wisdom that can only be attained by loving someone. This is not a wisdom that can be attained second hand. You have to learn it on the job. So this is how Majnu differentiates himself from his father. This is what he says. You strike your coins with the die of wisdom. Mine is the die of love. It cannot be changed. And isn't this the proverbial, famous tug of war between the heart and the mind, right? The wisdom and the love bit of it. The heart has its own mind, marches to its own beat, especially a heart filled with love. Nizami writes in this chapter, very, there is this air of prophecy to it, right? When he says, in this hour, Majnu understood his fate. Sorry. So when Nizami says, in this hour, Majnu understood his fate, it almost seems that when Majnu listens to his father talk about his end drawing near, it just makes Majnu go through a sudden self-realization of his own end. That just like his father, even he is tethering on the edge of life, very close to his end, perhaps even closer than his father. And that's a huge revelation for Majnu. Because before hearing his father speak, probably Majnu never thought of it this way, right? In this detail, my end, right? He did not bother. It was not his priority. But now that his father, excuse me, now that his father starts talking about his end, about his death, about his final journey, Majnu also starts realizing that he is not that far from his end either. And very soon, he will have to take his final journey. In fact, Majnu almost believes that his end or his final journey might happen even before his father. And he tells that to his father. And then in this chapter, he goes on to detail his state to his father. This is what he says. A flame burns in my heart, a flame beyond measure, which has turned my being to ashes. I am drawn towards death. Death is within me. But it is late. Too late for both of us. Let the dead not mourn the dead, my father. And then moving on to chapter 32, his father will finally resign to the fact that Majnu is beyond return. Nothing the father will do or say has the power to convince Majnu to return. So, chapter 32 will see Majnu's father go through the final acknowledgement of the futility of efforts to try to bring back Majnu to the world of the living. And though the father mourns that this would be the final meeting with his son, and that he would have to leave his son behind in this deathly place and state, true to a father's nature, the Sayyid pours his love and blessings on his son as he bids him the final farewell. This is what the Sayyid tells Majnu. You are my yoke, but also my crown. Let me then take leave of us both, of you and of myself. Look, our tears mingle and flow together. Hold me fast. This hour will have to nourish me on my way. It must last for a long time. And then Nizami ends this chapter with some powerful lines, right? One of them is, but if you die your own death, in this life, tearing yourself away from the world, which is a demon with the face of an angel, you will share eternal life. You are your fate, your death, your life. Now, moving on to chapter 33. This is where Majnun hears of his father's death. And he is struck hard by this loss and regret. The realization that the only person who always believed in him, always waited for him, and never gave up on him was not here anymore is a huge loss that pushes Majnu in the abyss even deeper. As if it could get deeper, but it does get deeper. Things at the emotional level get even worse for Majnu. And along with this, he also feels this huge shame, regret, and guilt of not reciprocating his father's love on multiple occasions. And when he laments, this is what he says: "O Father, how bitter it is to have lost you. I never knew, and now that I have learnt, it is too late. You were my companion, my protector, the pillar of my strength. You were my master. You understood my sufferings and bore them with me. What am I now, alone and without you?" So, just this support system probably that Majnu always subconsciously clung to or took his strength from, right? The father. And the options the father always kept open for Majnu. Sure, Majnu never wanted to return back, but the father ensured there was a place, warm, full of love, welcoming, to always return back to. And that loss, that is what Majnu feels in chapter 33. And then chapter 34, it is titled Face and Veil. Once again, at the beginning of the chapter, Nizami describes Majnu's state at this point in time in the wilderness. This is what he writes: "But this shy human flower carried a deathly grief in its calyx. Its name was Layla. She was the treasure which he hunted, and his life was nothing but longing for her." And then in chapter 34, there's an interesting incident also, where Majnu is with a group of people and the wind blows towards them this piece of paper on which there are two names written: Layla-e-Majnun. Just two names, nothing else. And when Majnu sees this paper, he tears the paper and splits it into two pieces, one with the name Layla, one with the name Majnu. And then he tosses away or destroys the part of paper which has Layla written on it, and preserves the part which has Majnu written on it. And everybody around him is like surprised, excited, and they're like, "What did you do? Why did you do this? Explain this to us." And when Majnu replies to these people, in my humble opinion, in his reply, he captures the culmination of both Sufi love and Udri love. If you're curious about Sufi love and Udri love, we have covered it briefly in the introduction episode of this mini-series, so you can access that. This is what Majnu says to the people: "One name is better than two. One is enough for both. One can see the shell, but not the kernel. The name is only the outer shell, and I am this shell. I am the veil. The face underneath is hers. By extension, the paper with Majnu written on it has Layla, hidden, buried, veiled in its deepest depths. Beautiful, beautiful. Nizami just continues to mesmerize with the way he details everything. So that brings us to the end of Chapter 31, Majnu's Answer. Chapter 32, The Father Departs. Chapter 33, Majnu hears of his father's death. And Chapter 34, Face and Veil. I hope you enjoyed the narration and the brief impressions that we went through. If you know someone who would enjoy this story, do share it via your social media, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. For all our new viewers, a strong recommendation to go through the introduction to DGMZ episode. That episode will give you a good insight into the inspiration and motivation behind this podcast. There are multiple playlists on our home channel page. Explore them. Some are dedicated to the Ghazal episodes. One is dedicated to the DGMZ Miniseries around Layla Majnun's love story. Explore the playlist and access the episodes that interest you. I'm going to now go ahead and close the episode. I'm sending a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.